sooner. So for you along the journey, can you think of back to a moment where it maybe felt like a valley of death,
Mm.
but in hindsight, you now see, no, that was actually preparation for the next level?
Oh my gosh, dude. So many. I mean, every one of those levels I was showing, there's probably one of those at each one of those levels. And I'll give a couple few that kind of relate to probably anyone at whatever phase of their business or life. So out of college, I gave myself a year to make entrepreneurship work. I'm like, I'm not going to get a job. I went in $16,000 in credit card debt that year, paid my taxes on my credit card that year, which I don't suggest you do, guys. And in that moment, probably 8 months, 9 months into that, that was the first version of it. Looking back on it now, it's like, wow, that was the easiest thing in the world because I've been through harder stuff now. But that was the first one where you're like second guessing yourself and going, dude, I can't put more money in this credit card. Like I physically couldn't. They wouldn't raise my limit. I couldn't put more money in the card. And I wasn't like the stuff that I was trying to do to make money wasn't hitting. And that was the first one. And honestly, the thing that most of the time you have to do is you've got to change a habit, a discipline, and a mindset, right? And so for me there, the mindset was, okay, maybe I'm trying to get too much for me. And what if I just switched it to just giving and not asking for anything in return? So rather than going up and pitching marketing contracts, which I was trying to do like online marketing things, I would just go find people locally, look at their websites, shoot them a little video and send it to them and say, hey, I found these things. You might want to send it to your web person to fix it because it would help you get ranked high better in Google. Love your business. Enjoy. Just found this for you. And what would happen was they'd reply back and go, I don't have a web guy like to fix that stuff. And they go, can you fix it? I'm like, I'm not a web guy, but I can find one to do it. And then a lot of the times that would turn into a paid contract. So that was a mindset shift. That one wasn't that hard though, because I didn't have real problems in life at that time, right? So I think the hardest one, honestly, that caused the biggest shift in my life was in 2012. This is 4 years after I started my first real company that made any real money. I mean, me and a business partner, we had an online business in the real estate space, about $500,000 a year. We hit that 300,000 to $1 million pain line. Didn't realize it. Didn't know what a pain line was, other than I felt it. Right, felt the pain. And I remember we had this would have been 2010 is when I first hit it. 2 years into the business, and I let it go for 2 more years to the point where I was burnt out. Mm-hmm. And this was, I remember waking up one morning, looking at the ceiling. My wife, as a physician's assistant, she was at work and she took my daughter to daycare so I could get work done. I stayed at home and worked. I remember it was like 10 in the morning. I'm looking at the ceiling in my bedroom and going like, why do I not want to get up and do the work in the business that I had created? Like I was having a pity party, man, like feeling sorry for myself and just going like, maybe I should just go get a job. You know, maybe this entrepreneurship thing's not right for me, or maybe it's not actually a dream. Maybe it's not something that is a dream that is even good. Maybe I'm just like, entrepreneurship it's a grind all the time. No one can ever figure it out. And so I fought through that one, and there's a whole mindset shift and process I went through that. And I'll give you one more. This would have been in 2016 after I started Carrot. So the first one was me trying to get to 100,000, that first pain line, 16K in credit card debt, wanting to quit, thinking I'm going to go get a job. But I said I was going to do this for a full year. So I'm just going to change whatever I'm doing for the next 2 months and see if something changes. It did. The next one was at the 300 to 500K mark. Didn't know how to delegate well. Didn't have a clear vision that excited me. None of that stuff. Okay. Had that whole pain point, and that period changed my life. And I can go into how. And then 2016, I hit the $1 million pain line. And that was before I knew what pain lines were again. It just got hard. And here's the last part of it, Marlon, is because I didn't recognize it and I didn't know how to get through that $1 million pain line effectively. I just put all the work on myself. So I was like, dude, I had 3 kids at that time, by that time. And I said, I'm going to do this so it doesn't impact my family. And so I would finish work at the office. I'd come home, computer wouldn't get opened up. We'd have dinner, put the kids to bed, hang out with my wife. And then I would open up the computer about 11 o'clock once my wife went to bed. And I would just work until I was done. Oftentimes 3-4 days a week. It was 2 to 4 in the morning every week, just moving the business forward, moving Carrot forward. I didn't take a paycheck for 1.5 years in Carrot. And so one day after one of those benders, 4 in the morning, we were going to my parents' house about 3 hours away, if you know Oregon, there's the Cascade Mountain Range runs north-south. I currently live right on the west side of it. My parents, where I grew up, live right on the east side of it. It's about a 3-hour drive through the Cascade Mountain Range. And it was in the afternoon, man. Had driving our Yukon XL, my 3 kids in the back, my wife reading. And it was one of those weird moments. I'm up in the mountains. There's guardrails, ravines, everything. I wasn't tired. I didn't feel tired. 1 second I'm awake, next second I'm not. And it's just like in the movies where you go, there's no way the guy would wake up in that, like perfect like that. I woke up heading towards the guardrail. I grabbed the steering wheel, swerve just in time to have the bumper scrape off the guardrail. I stopped dead in the middle of the highway, no cars coming. 100 yards up, there's no guardrail, like or on the ravine there. And just like weird timing, right? I get out, I'm in the middle of the road. I walk over, open up my wife's door. She was reading, so she didn't see what happened. And she said, what happened? I said, I fell asleep, babe. I need you to drive. And so she got over that. I didn't drive in a family trip for 6 months. That's what introduced me to Red Bull. Like I'd never drank a Red Bull before that. Every trip I'd drive out of town, I had 2 Red Bulls sitting there because I'm like, I don't want to fall asleep. And I came home, Marlon, and this was the massive shift I had. If I would have known where the pain lines were and how to get through them, I would have done it way faster. I said, I need to figure out how to grow this company that requires no more than 40 hours a week. I'm not going to work nights or weekends anymore. Literally for 2 years, computer did not come in the house. Didn't work one night, one weekend for 2 years. And that forced me to go, okay, I need to learn how to hire people. I need to learn how to hire leaders. I need to learn how to like really build a real business now, or sabotage this and go back to what's comfortable. So that one there was hard. It took me about 1.5 years probably to truly learn and get the right people around me. That's the year I hired a coach. I went in my first mastermind that year and just started going a growth journey.
Wow, that's insane. And, you know, it's really interesting that it almost feels like it always takes getting to a wall, hitting an obstacle before the development begins again.
Yep.
I think sometimes people try to avoid, like I used to, as a parkour coach as well, I recognize with my students that it was important to allow them to experience a bit of pain and a bit of failure. That my job wasn't to make it so that they never touched the fire. My job was to let them know the fire was hot and to actually let them get close enough to feel the heat, but not walk away with 2nd-degree burn.
That's a good analogy, man. I like it.
Oh, and so it's amazing that you got to go through these experiences. And now, to your point, you're bringing a roadmap for your clients. You're bringing a roadmap to other entrepreneurs to help them get to the dream that they actually want, because a lot of people, they do burn out along the way. So, I mean, that's insane. That's extremely valuable. And I want to be respectful of your time because I know we're coming up here on the hour. So I want to start to wrap this up. And the way I like to wrap up all of these calls these episodes is there's 2 of my favorite questions I like to ask everybody at the end of every episode.
Love it.
So the first one is very selfish. This is how I grow my library. Books have been paramount for me. They've just given me paradigm shifts. I've been able to download someone else's perspective and thought process uninterrupted, where I couldn't just stop them in the middle and just like stop their train of thought. So it's been very helpful for me. So for you, are you able to name 1, but no more than 2 books, total paradigm shifts for you that after you read, you never quite went back to thinking the same again?
Dude, 100%. So I'm going to give you 2. This one here, I almost guarantee, unless they heard it from me, I almost guarantee no one on this thing has probably ever heard of this book or bought it. Like I've never met anybody who I've ever told this book about who's ever heard of it. So it's called The 5 Major Pieces to the Life Puzzle, Guide to Personal Success by Jim Rohn. Like I love Jim Rohn stuff, right? Dude, I got this book in whatever year. I don't remember when it was, somewhere between 2008 and 2010. When I was going through some of those challenges. It's the simplest book in the world to read, man. It's short. It's like 120 pages, but it is so prescriptive and helps you build up your mental operating system for life, dude. It's so like the way I read, Marlon, is I dog ear books. Like I dog ear pages and I write in it. This book is like almost all dog ear, like almost every page. And so I read this book every year now. I read it first in that time period, and that changed my perspective in the early days. And then I didn't pick it up for probably 10 years because I'm like, oh, that was a beginner's book, right? And then I was going through and I heard something years ago. Someone said, the best thing to do is like read the same 100 books or the same 50 books over and over again, rather than reading 1,000 books. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to go back to some of those ones. I read this again this year as an 8-figure entrepreneur. Dude, I dog-eared different things. I circled stuff. I've recorded podcasts on these topics. Love the book. The second book that is probably lesser known, I'm going to give some that are lesser known for everyone. There's great ones, Atomic Habits, all those, right? But this one's called The Pumpkin Plan. So this one for me in 2016, that's when that one hit me, was in 2016. I've had Mike Michalowicz on my podcast twice. First time I interviewed him, I didn't have a podcast. And I'm like, I just need to talk to the guy who wrote this book because it impacted me. I pitched him, dude, you want to come on my podcast? I didn't have a podcast, dude. He just came on and I interviewed him and I asked him all the questions I wanted to ask him. I've still got that interview. I've still got that file somewhere. But dude, that one for me, because at that time, it might have even been before 2016, I had too many things going on. I had too many pumpkins. I had 4 or 5 businesses and they weren't all doing that great. And it taught me that concept through the analogy on page 16. Page 16, literally, Marlon, I've read 16 pages of that book and I've probably bought the book for 100 plus people. I haven't read page 17 or beyond. I read to page 16. I shut the book. I'm like, that's all I need. And that analogy he gives on how the pumpkin farmers grow the world champion pumpkins, it just changed my perspective. I'm like, okay, it's not better to have a bunch of different things going on. It's better to trim and weed all of the things on that vine with that pumpkin that I think has the biggest opportunity. And I'm just going to focus all the energy in that one pumpkin. That one changed me big time.
Trevor, I can guarantee you I'm going to be making like a little short clip out of what you just said, because that's been the message I've been preaching now for the last few months, mostly because I'm just, whenever I talk to someone else, I'm really talking to myself.
Yeah, me too.
That reminder of just focus. No is a very powerful word. It's a complete sentence.
Yep. I love it, man.
That is so good. So I've got those books written down. I love Jim Rohn. I never heard the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. That's awesome. And the Pumpkin Plan is, funny enough, I've had that book recommended to me several times and it hasn't been picked up yet. So that book's being picked up immediately.
Cool.
Now, this final question is one of my favorites. In fact, I hope to one day put together just a collection of everyone's answers. And the question goes a little something like this. Trevor, I want you to imagine that tomorrow you're going to wake up, and as you're waking up, as you're opening your eyes and you're coming to consciousness, you are a blank slate. You don't remember the years of entrepreneurship. You don't remember the connections, the friendships, the lessons, the pain points. I mean, it is all completely gone.
Yep.
Now, you're not freaking out. It's not a Saw movie, so you're not scared or anything for your life. You recognize you're in a safe place, but you're total amnesia here.
Yep.
And as you're coming to, a thought begins to come to your mind. And when this thought comes to your mind, for whatever reason, you don't question it, you don't doubt it, you accept it, and you take it 100% on faith. No one can convince you that this thought is wrong. What would you prefer for this thought to ideally be?
That's good, man. That's deep, dude. That's deep. That thought, I think honestly, dude, it'd probably be one word. It'd just be serve. Just wake up and serve. I know from my perspective of my faith as well, it's like just really finding people who need of you. You know, what can you give of yourself, whether it's skill sets or your time or your finances, whatever it is, just serve. But as I look at every part of my entrepreneurial journey, looking back, where things shifted and got better is when I stopped thinking about myself. I started serving others. So just be serve. And when you do, you'll find the opportunities and your life becomes a lot more sweet.
I love that answer. That is so spot on. And it actually made me think about what you mentioned as one of your first mindset shifts, where you said, well, you know, how can I just, instead of wanting like to take, how can I just go out and give? And how that was one of the first things. Actually, a book I keep on my side is The Go-Giver. And it's one of my books that I love just gifting out to people because it was such a mindset shift.
I love it.
That answer resonates. So Trevor, I gotta say, first off, thank you so much, for coming
Mm.
on, for sharing with us your time, sharing with us your experience, your knowledge, your energy. For the people that are listening and they're like, okay, I like this guy, like he is spot on. He's speaking my language, he's been through experiences. I want to connect with him, I want to work with him, I want to
Mm.
learn more about how to get into his group and understand
Yep.
the entrepreneurial formula. Like, how should people connect with you? Where should they go?
Dude, probably the best spots to plug into, both free. Go to Instagram. So find me Trevor.Mauch, not Trevor.Mauch L. That's the scammer who started an account copying me yesterday, but Trevor.Mauch, Mauch. And follow me there because I publish a lot of the stuff there, and you'll be able to probably pretty much tap into anything in my ecosystem once you get there. And then the Carrot Cast. So you mentioned you listen to my truck talks, just carrot, like the vegetable cast. You can go to Google, type that up, or go to Spotify or whatever. And every Thursday I roll out a podcast where I'm just talking on my phone, driving or working out or whatever, just this kind of stuff. This is the stuff I talk about in those. So Carrot Cast, and find me on IG, Trevor.Mauch.
So guys, I'm going to have all of that in the show notes and in the description. So you can just click one link. So do me a favor, go down, make sure that you're following Trevor on Instagram. In fact, if you got value from this episode, what I want you to do is tag Trevor, tag myself on Instagram. Let us know that you're listening. And I want to know what impacted you from this episode. So again, Trevor, thank you so much for this. I'm going to make sure that we send as many people your way, because you're one of those people that truly you inspire. Your words hit deeply and they carry weight because you live in alignment with them.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. Dude, I appreciate what you're doing, getting messages out to the world and being the type of guy that you are. I mean, I think you attract amazingness to you just with your energy. And I think there's a reason why I stopped on the way to the airport and stopped at Pace's thing. And it was for meeting amazing people like yourself. So appreciate you, man.
I appreciate that. All right, guys, we'll be back here next Monday for the next episode. I'll see you guys next week.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I got $1 billion mindset, steady as the flow, navigating on my time spent, letting niggas know. $1 billion, $1 billion. Yeah, I got $1 billion mindset. Yeah, I got $1 billion mindset, steady as the flow.